Hi, here we are back again. And this time we've got shift number 21, which I'm calling the big picture. I suddenly this week had an idea about how to give an overview to you of how all of this works and how to understand it better so that you can use it more practically in your day-to-day life. And I realized the way to do that is by showing you some pictures. So that's what I've got drawn here today, and then I'm going to give you some description, and hopefully all of that will make sense to you. And then that will kind of lead us into the focus of our next number of shifts, which I'm excited to be working with you on in the future. So I wanted to start, I drew this little picture, which is like, I guess a little snapshot. When you sit here now and you're watching this video, you can survey what's going on in your life right now and sort of identify, well, Christmas is coming up and I've got work and I have a contribution to make in the world. This is sort of a more nebulous thought. And, it's not God. Death is somewhere in your awareness, just the idea that there's an end point. And then you may have experiences or thoughts about your body, or there's that person X that, is prominent in your life right now. And there's your money situation, and there's food, and there's just all these different separate seemingly aspects of your life that you can point to and focus on and think about and are relevant right now. What was this one up here that I missed? Oh, your childhood, which sometimes includes some sense of trauma that then lingers. So things from the background that seem to have had a cause that has an effect now, things from the past. And so if you just look at your life situation right now, you can scan and bring to mind all these different things. You will have other ones besides these as well. And so most of us spend a great deal of our time trying to maneuver ourselves through life and navigate through life so that we can avoid certain problems in certain areas of our life. So that takes up a lot of our attention and energy. What I want to point to is that this map also shows exactly, it's a map of your inner landscape as well, or your emotional landscape. So right now, as you're sitting here, you're having a range of emotions, maybe. And when you focus on a particular aspect, say money, what comes to awareness is a certain feeling or vibrational pattern that you have about money right now, or about food, or about your childhood, or about Christmas. So if we were to go slowly through each of these things, what would happen is that, your attention would go there because you're a magnifying glass, and you would start to fill in more details about each topic and thoughts about what's going on with that aspect of your life would fill in, memories of what's happened in the past, concerns about the future, and that the more you would focus there, the more that that would grow in your awareness and the more feeling you would have about that. And most of us have a great number of these energy patterns in our moment-by-moment awareness, and we're used to walking through the world with them sort of all overlapping. Most of us actually walk around feeling something like this, just like life's really stressful, there's a lot going on, we're feeling a lot, and it's hard to distinguish it all. It's just life just feels intense and uncomfortable, and it's a lot to manage. And certainly this was my experience when I started doing this work way back. And so what's been happening here since you joined this program is we've a piece at a time, started isolating out some of these emotional patterns, uncomfortable patterns, becoming aware of the sensation in our body, using the in deeper process to diminish them, to sort of wipe them out. They can be wiped out completely. And so what starts to happen oftentimes is that when we're, as you know, it's kind of like cleaning out a closet, that you take out one thing and there's still a lot of stuff there. But then over time, what happens is that there starts to be space around these different things. That one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone, this one's less. And so we start to notice more spaciousness in our inner experience, and it starts to become easier to identify and isolate the ones that remain. And this happens because we identify as though we are these things, this person that is having these specific experiences, and we get lost inside them and it becomes our identity. But who we really are is this space in the background. And so we are the spaciousness, we're the space, the awareness through which all of these experiences happen. And in fact, if I could, take this card and spool it out longer and longer, it would be like a continual scroll of moving energy patterns and experiences moving through and across our awareness, and including the experience of death, because it's just an experience that happens and which we move beyond. It happens inside us, it happens inside our awareness, and it's bigger than us. Most of us have no idea of that. And so this is why the in deeper process is so powerful, is because so in this moment, we can isolate any single one of these energy patterns and have it collapse back, take the energy out of it, because this is just all our energy in those forms, vibrating at different frequencies. So the frequency or feeling that you have when you think about your money situation may be very different than the frequency or the energy pattern that's there when you think about Christmas. But anytime there's an uncomfortable feeling you have when you think about any subject in your life, it's because that energy pattern is present there right now. And you can use your awareness. You don't have to wait until you get into the situation in order to focus on it and have that dissipate. And this is basically what I did in the story that I told about that mole I had, that I used that experience to find in my field, in my awareness, all this fear about death, about my body, about what it would mean, if I made the wrong decision. And very thoughtfully and carefully, I just allowed the present moment to bring up those experiences and then have them dissipate. And so what happens when you do that progressively is that any of them can be reclaimed and returned into the background state out of which they came in the first place. And so the result of that kind of is like this, is that then you can be in any moment in time, look at anything, Christmas, money, career, contribution, body, anything, that person, that situation, and feel this background sense, which then comes into the foreground of equanimity, spaciousness, peace, clarity. Because the other thing about these energy fields is that when you're inside them, you identify in there, and then you're looking out through that swirling energy, and it makes everything colored by that viewpoint. And so when you're not, your identity isn't in there, that field isn't there holding your awareness, what happens is you're able to look at those situations with such clear sight, bigger vision, sense of seeing things you didn't see before, options that you didn't see before, and a sense of being okay in their presence. They don't look or feel the same way. And oftentimes, like I said, when I was talking about that mole situation, is when we've used a situation to raise into our awareness and move through the emotional experiences that it offers to us, then those situations can change. Or if they don't, we're actually so much better and so much more okay in them. But the other, and I've talked about most of these things before, so some of that may be repeat, but here's the really exciting thing that I want to bring in today, is that, okay, we're going to go to this concept here, which is the whole thing about time and how, and moving through time. So here I am in this now moment. And it was Stephen Hawking that said that things, so, and the way I think I exist is that things happened in the past, and here I am now, and then there's going to be a future. But Stephen Hawking said that things that occur in imagination or an imaginary time are just as real as things that are occurring now. So let's take childhood. So let's say for many of us that something or things happened in the past. It doesn't have to be childhood, but something happened in the past that seems to be having an effect or an effect on our lives now. It's still affecting us. But from a quantum physics point of view, what is actually happening is that in this now moment, I'm going to go back to this. This is my now moment. And I now, in this moment, have energy fields, energy patterns, emotions related to my childhood. Well, that energy pattern that's present in my now moment actually is linking back in time a whole bunch of other superpositions, other also existing realities that are all on that all contain that same vibrational pattern, that same feeling state. So if I use this picture again, remember how we talked about all these different superpositions, all these different actual realities sit stacked in our awareness, and we move through them by moving through vibrations. So on the topic of my childhood, in this now moment, I'm feeling a certain way. And I think that that's because I'm remembering events that happened and how I felt about them and how I feel about them now. But what quantum physics tells us is that I'm actually creating those linkages, those memories, those memories in this now moment based on the vibration that I'm feeling right now. So these past memories, yes, they happened. Other things happened as well. And so the things that are standing out from my past are the things are occurring because my consciousness right now is highlighting a whole series of superpositions of realities that exist with that thread. So the option that I have in this now moment is that I can use the Indeeper process to feel through that vibrational pattern, that energy field, which then shifts me into a different now moment, which I can only imagine right now because what I'm experiencing right now is so real and so pronounced and so fleshed out in my experience. But I can feel through that using the Indeeper process, have that energy pattern in my now moment shift so I don't feel that remembering about my childhood in the same way, or anything, money, it doesn't matter what it is. I actually shift myself to a different reality, a different timeline that's just as real as the one that I'm in now. And I actually will start to create a different memory of the past. So other things will come highlighted, and I actually will have moved to a timeline where I will have had different experiences that will more closely relate to how I feel now. And in the same way, I then am on a timeline that creates a different expectation or trajectory for the future. This to me is so extremely powerful, this concept that the past is created out of the present. My now, how I feel right now, what I focus on right now, what comes to awareness right now, this now moment is creating those pasts that I link to. And this just gives me so much influence over where I'm going, because I'm not limited in any way by what's happened in the past, even if I identify with those experiences very strongly, because I can recreate them now. Let me see if there's something else I want to say about that. And I can do this on any subject. So this is why this now moment, if I learn to really find where my attention is, what I'm feeling, I'm willing to go there and to fully feel that experience and feel through that and bring that back down into the nothingness out of which it was created in the first place, then I'm free to start, rather than trying to walk my life around all these obstacles that are set up, I'm actually free to walk through open space and start pulling up out of consciousness, out of this background field, which is who and what I really am, new things that fit the type of vibration or feeling that I want to both feel, and experiences that I want to have that reflect that feeling. And the nature of the background field, this background state, is that it's very spacious, very open. There's a great sense of okayness, well-being, peace, calm, neutrality. And the feelings that when we consciously go in and try and grab a little piece of that background state and amplify it, which is what we're going to talk about in the weeks ahead, first of all, it can be a little tricky to grab it and isolate it, because when we look at negative or uncomfortable emotional states, because they're created by electrons, which create, that's why we call them negative, they're negatively charged, those feeling states are negatively charged, and that electron, the electrons that characterize them, they create that wall of separation, so it's easy to find and locate and isolate those particular patterns. But when you get into the background feelings, qualities that characterize who and what you really are, those feelings are not separate in the same way that the negative feelings are. They aren't created by that negative electron wall. And so for example, if you are able to summon up a feeling of appreciation or excitement or joy or gratitude, what you find in your body is that it's just sort of a radiating feeling that doesn't have boundaries. It doesn't have, the separation that the negative ones do. And so the beauty of that is that you can call that up. You can call that feeling up. You can appreciate, there's a leaf falling outside. I can appreciate the beauty of fall. And as I feel that just sense of appreciation and wonder for that leaf and for the changing seasons, that radiates through my body, and then it creates a substructure that then supports that same quality to spread to all the other aspects of my life. So it supports all the other things that I might want to isolate out: my money situation, my relationship to food and my body, my childhood, when I think about Christmas, the contribution that I am. So the beauty of being able to really use the magnifying quality that we are as human beings is that we can find anything to appreciate, and it will then radiate out into and as all the other structures, separate structures of our life. And that's why in a recent shift, I talked about just finding a little piece of something and grabbing it. And in shift number 22, which is the next one, I'm actually going to talk about using your tweakers, which is kind of like little tweezers, which tweezers are to find a little thing and pull it up. And tweakers, which we're going to talk about, are to find just a little piece of that background energy of happiness or joy or contentment or well-being, and then how to use a tweaker to amplify it. So it's kind of like, starting from fresh ground. Yeah. and just finding a little piece and then using your awareness to expand it out so it supports then all these other aspects. There was something I wanted to say about that. What was it? One thing I wanted to say, just a common thing that happens as people start working on these energy fields or emotions related to specific topics, and I want to mention this because it may have happened to you, is let's say that you've used the In Deeper process when you think about, I don't know, your body. And so you've found the feeling that's present right there now as you think about it, and you invite that feeling up. You decide you're willing for it to change. You just explore the sensation of that in your body. You play with it in maybe some way that you've discovered that's good for you. And as you do that, you notice that the quality of that structure starts to change, that it's not as intense, that it moves around a little bit, that whatever happens to it, and it gradually dissipates. Oftentimes what happens when people are doing this is that when it's really big and intense, there's a lot of structure there to draw our attention to. And over time, as you work with the In Deeper process and you take the energy out of it and return it back to the background state, it has less and less structure to it, less and less energy to it. And so what's easy to have happen is that your attention starts to wander, right? So you're like, oh, you just can't, you lose interest in it, you start thinking about other things, or the feeling is still there. There's still that core of that little tornado, let's say, but you just sort of wander off. So what happens when we don't sort of feel all the way through one of those structures to the entire space, the spaciousness, so that we can't feel it anymore? What happens if a little bit is left is that the next time we come back and we're thinking about, say, our body, and we notice, oh, that feeling's still there. So the quality of it, the vibrational appearance of it, the way that it feels is still there, and we go, oh, that didn't work. But really what it was is that if we were able to measure, well, here, this was 100% that was there before, and now there's only like 2.5% of it left, because we don't have the awareness to distinguish these kinds of things. We haven't been taught how to do this. So we think it hasn't changed, but really it's just that there's a little tail end of it there that is still lingers for us to get to. And so to me, what I find is that there's a great deal of relief that comes from getting that first, 95% or 98%. But when we really feel that last little bit, all those little tendrils, any little remnants or traces of that feeling or vibration or concern or fear or whatever it was, it's like the whole thing lifts away, and then there's just vast space inside us, and it's a radical sea change. So I guess my advice on that is just to really make sure that you get every last little piece of these energy fields when you're working on them with the In Deeper process. So that was a lot to cover. Let me see if I missed anything. If I probably did, but that's what I have the text to be able to write if I want to be able to add to that. So there we go, and we'll carry on with using our tweakers in our next shift.